Many are battered and bruised, so confused. Real life stresses and drugs abused. Pain seen through the teardrops in their eyes, filled with turmoil and despair in their lives. Many are battered and bruised, so confused. Real life stresses and drugs abused. Pain seen through the teardrops in their eyes, filled with turmoil and despair in their lives. Here's the situation, stop faking. Cause Satan is here for the taking. Who's shaking it and baking it? The heat is on. The only way you're making it is through God's grace. Embrace it. Stop talking trash and basing it. All the cash and dreams, you're wasting it. Redemption's here, he paved it. I'm a living proof. My testimony, he gave it. Come on. Many are battered and bruised, so confused. Real life stresses and drugs abused. Pain seen through the teardrops in their eyes, filled with turmoil and despair in their lives. Many are battered and bruised, so confused. Real life stresses and drugs abused. Pain seen through the teardrops in their eyes, filled with turmoil and despair in their lives. You can't even catch up on the bills, filled with anxiety, worry and ills. You look for an easy way out, and so you pop some pills. A quick fix, an ill mix. You need cash down, so you turn some tricks in the heat of the night. You meet John Doe at the flicks, killed over a crazy chick, packing a bigger buck 50 slick. You hit, time to let go and let God take an inventory of your life and what you saw. Confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord. Surrender it all and let him shape and mold, overwhelm and hold you. And life is short before it's through, and no more darkness being doomed. You're a new creation. No more situation. That's right. You're a new creation. Come on. Many are battered and bruised, so confused. Real life stresses and drugs abused. Pain seen through the teardrops in their eyes, filled with turmoil and despair in their lives. Many are battered and bruised, so confused. Real life stresses and drugs abused. Pain seen through the teardrops in their eyes, filled with turmoil and despair in their lives. You can't find relief living a fast life, selling drugs, gang banging, street thugging up all night. Police cars chasing, crazies racing, and while you're driving and ducking, your homeboys blazing, headed for disaster. Shouts of laughter overpower the crowds trying to stop you for being mangled and tangled, pimp style strangled across the street. To be boys dancing to the drummer's beat. Too late, car explodes, hitting the front gate. Loud boom, so profound. People standing around, curious at what just happened with no smile, but a frown on every face with shock and amazement. A deadly arrangement, all involved, dead on the pavement. I can't entertain it. A deadly arrangement, all involved, dead on the pavement. I can't entertain it. Come on. Many are battered and bruised, so confused. Real life stresses and drugs abused. Pain seen through the teardrops in their eyes, filled with turmoil and despair in their lives. Many are battered and bruised, so confused. Real life stresses and drugs abused. Pain seen through the teardrops in their eyes, filled with turmoil and despair in their lives. Yeah, you see, many in this world are battered and bruised. Many people are addicted to substances that control their lives. You need to wake up and not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Yeah, there's hope for the hopeless, so stay encouraged. Come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, wherever and however you're listening, thank you for listening to another episode of Hip Hop and Politics. We're actually live tonight here at Catalina's. It is me, myself, Marquise Lupton, as well as...
Estoy Sofia Roman.
And...
Nina Clotilde.
And of course we're bringing you the I guess the latest and greatest in politics and hip hop. We're giving you the realist in hip hop and opinions in politics. So one thing that I really wanted to start off with is I don't even know what to call it. This video circulating on Facebook Live with the 3 individuals in the car and the man getting shot in the head.
Again, it is very, very evident that it was a mistake, that it was an accident. But the sheer number that the video was shared and all of the different outlets in which it was shared has been exposed to a lot of people, and it doesn't look good on our behalf. What makes me angry about the video is how it's being compared to other very, very heinous crimes that have occurred in the last 2 or 3 years. Crimes like bombing churches, sending out poison and mail. It is heart-wrenching, and I hope that it doesn't continue to get as much exposure as it has. But if it is going to continue to gain the amount of exposure that it does, let's create some awareness around it. With gun care and handling. Just so we can possibly take preventative measures from this point forward. What do you think, Sophie?
I mean, I think the general public and certainly the press will take any opportunity they can to sort of look at a video like this and point to it and say, see, people of color, like, they're all thug culture, this, that, the other, and I think it's all too easy to want to do that, and I think that's people's, like, natural inclination, unfortunately, in this country, to do that. Obviously, the video is, like, so disturbing. And for me, you know, it does. I do want to say, like, this is why, you know, we don't glamorize thug culture. We don't play with guns in, like, a lackadaisical manner. Like, this is serious. Why aren't we taking this seriously? But it's almost like that's our battle to fight. Y'all need to, like, step up. You know? What were your thoughts on it?
My thoughts on it was, like, I from the people that were saying that, oh, it was a setup, they meant to do this, it was a love triangle,
it was a hoax.
And that too, it was a hoax. You know, I just from seeing that, I was like, you know, have we come so desensitized? You know, have we seen so many videos that, like, now if a certain video doesn't fit our criteria of authentic, you know, the reaction kind of falls to the wayside, and then you get this kind of viral kind of reaction where it's like, oh, well, let me share this. It's not real, or it's not reality, when, like, in actuality, there's a man in Houston in a hospital
fighting for his life right now.
Literally, and I think that's the part that bothers me is just the comments, you know, because, like, if you look in the comment section, you gotta prepare yourself
mentally, emotionally.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, because you will be tested.
My gosh!
Your will, certainly. All of a sudden, your fingers get all busy.
You know, and how could people be so? And I mean, we could have a whole show just on the
comment section.
Yeah. And it's just like, you know, that disconnect of just, you know, human dignity
and regard,
and regard for some people. And, like, you saw it in that video. You saw it in
just
the video.
The content of the video proves it's the disregard for human life. But I also think people lose sight of a really important thing that you kind of touched on, that it is real life, yes. But, like, I had a high school history teacher say this to us, and it totally changed my life, that he was like, news is just that. It's news. Like, we're reporting the exceptional things of the day. This is exceptional. This is... If it was called every day, nobody would watch. Like, who wants to see? Grandma gets mail, makes it inside safely. So I think people lose sight of that and they get wrapped up that this is happening in the first place. And admittedly, it is disturbing. Nobody's gonna argue that.
Right.
But like thinking that this is happening everywhere and everybody that has a gun acts like this, or all people of color when they get together act like this, like it's just, and that's what comes out in the comments section.
Yeah,
we were talking about extremes that America does. You know, it's like you either have a gun and you're a killer, or you don't have a gun and you can't protect yourself or your family. All that space in between.
Right, life is not binary like that. People be thinking in black and white.
Right, yeah, and life doesn't work
and
that way.
life doesn't, absolutely. And you know what? And this might be a little bit of a tangent, but you see this kind of in the older and the younger echelons of the BLM movement. You know, where like the older people, and admittedly, I'm 33 million years old, and I'm like, of the older people, I'm a little bit more like relaxed and like, okay, what's up? How you doing? And but I also get the anger from the younger side, and I get that strategy. And for me, I say, well, that's the strategy. You do you.
Right.
I'm gonna do the strategy that's working for, and we're gonna meet in the middle. We're gonna accomplish the same thing. Just you with your strategy and me with my strategy.
Right.
But a lot people can't understand this. They want to make and justify those comments they're making by saying like the world has to work like this.
Yep.
And it's not. So these comments must be true.
Right. And the one thing about, you know, the world has to be like this is like those people who are willing to believe that, like, you know, the world or the country, you know, because it's not this certain way, because it's not how it used to be, because it's not how it's been when my grandfather was 15, something has to be wrong with the world, you know, and it doesn't have to be this kind of evolution, you know, of what's going on. Like, the one thing that really confuses me about, especially with like immigration, especially with people in this country, is that we always talked about how we're a melting pot. Right. We've been hearing that our whole lives. You know what I mean? And the fact that when people get to a point and decide that, okay, well, this is not going to be a melting pot, I'm all of a sudden not going to believe what I've been told for years and years and years. Like, that kind of disconnect really confuses me. Because, like, to think that people of color will always be in a subservient kind of position, like, what kind of arrogance do you need to have to think that, you know, this essentially, basically this class of people will always remain in the same position,
completely forgetting the fact that they were the first people. Just like the first people.
Right.
What happened when the melanin got sucked out?
I mean, the thing, like, I don't know. I just said a whole bunch of nothing right there.
Because the ignorance leaves you that speechless.
Yeah.
That, like, in 2018, we're still having to face these issues of having to feel like we have to fight for the rights that we got.
Exactly.
You know, and feeling like, oh, you should be grateful we gave you that.
Exactly.
But, I mean, guys, these are people that have been conditioned and bred in entitlement at its finest form.
You're right.
You know? So
you
their
are
perception isn't going to be that of common people's reality.
You are right. Now, let me tell you this. Well, not tell you. Let me ask you this, rather. With that perception, right? With that perception, we now have police officers. We now have lawyers. We now have loan officers. We now have principals and teachers that have that unchallenged mentality. And when that mentality goes unchallenged,
It's dangerous.
exactly, and you get the stuff that literally happened today. A man in Brooklyn was shot dead because he was carrying a shower head. Carrying the shower head, people mistaked it as a gun, called the police.
Good brother. Good brother.
And
Since when? I'm not justifying by no means. Since when is it okay to walk around waving a pipe?
but you know what though? Dylan Roof is alive. What's Nicholas Cruz? Is that his name? From Parkland.
Yeah. He just got out of the hospital today, right?
He's still alive. The Aurora shooter.
Yeah.
He's still alive, and he was in armor.
Homeboy in Pennsylvania that shot the state trooper and they found him in the air hangar. Eric, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you know who's not alive? The dude that shot those people in California and they like burned his home down.
Yes, I did hear about that.
They made sure he was dead 20 times over. You know, I'm not saying it's race, but I'm not saying that it's not race. I mean, to like, you know, get down, you know, past all the jokes and everything like that. Like you really see a real disconnect, unfairity, so to speak, when you have like the kid, the affluenza kid, you know, who can literally kill people with a vehicle, and then not serve, you know, quote unquote hard time.
Well, like you said, you're not saying it's race, but you're saying you're saying it's not race.
Right.
I think it's a systemic agenda.
Yeah.
It's a filter that some people see and some people can't see.
What did you guys hear about this new legislation that they're trying to pass about giving life to drug dealers now?
Yeah.
After we just got rid of minimum sentences.
Yeah.
And we know.
We found minimum sentences unconstitutional,
Okay,
didn't we?
we know who the drug dealers are.
Yeah.
We do.
That's what
the majority of the color of skin. Who the drug dealers are.
Or the ones that they look for.
Yeah. And but we also know what the users look like. I literally saw,
they are a lot lighter than most people presume.
Literally saw a news story on WGAL yesterday about how they're going to crack down on the dealers. You know, we're not going to let this happen in our town. You know, and the police chief even said it. He said when one dealer goes down, we know that another one is going to pop up. So then, if you know that, then the common denominator with every dealer is what? The user. So then in the 80s, you know, you demonize the user and everything like that. And then now that the user is of a different
it's looked at as an illness.
It's looked at as mental illness, physical illness, but that's also the powers that be.
Because it affected them.
Yeah.
Because at a certain point it stopped being a black problem or a poor people problem, and their wives got hooked on the juice.
Yeah.
Or cocaine got introduced to the upper white class.
And having crack cocaine plague the black community and families within it for decades and decades.
Exactly. And it wasn't
criminalized and not looked at as an illness or a medical condition.
Right. Until it started happening to them. Same with like Dick Cheney, and he was against marriage equality until my daughter wants to marry her girlfriend. I believe in CNN now.
Until it hit home, and then it was like, oh, you know.
And you know, I heard an interview today with Courtney Vance, I think is his name.
Angela Bassett's
husband. And they were talking about, because he played Johnny Cochran.
Yeah.
Right. And they were talking, it was with Larry Wilmore, of all people, too.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. And they were talking about how, like, Marcia Clark, God bless her, she was so pure intentioned, and she was out there like, this isn't a race thing, but what she didn't know is what you said, is she didn't have the vision to understand, like, it is a race thing.
Yeah.
And Johnny Cochran, like, knew that. Like, Marcia Clark was just looking at, like, domestic abuse, like looking at it like a lawyer, not looking at it like a person that observed all the social.
But don't you think a lot of us are in denial, though?
Yeah, this nation, I really believe that this nation really isn't ready.
Right now, I have to be. Look at who our president is.
Oh, yeah.
Barack Obama got a third term. Can you believe it?
You know, like I really don't believe that this nation is ready to have this conversation. Because people have to accept that certain ancestors were at fault. You know, and that
can be a hard pill to swallow.
That is definitely a very, very, very so until people are ready to accept that, you know, they're going to try to gloss over it. As we get further away from it, they're going to try to, you know, sweep it under the rug like they're trying to do with the Trail of Tears with the Native Americans. You know, so like they're going to do those things to make it seem like, oh, you know, it's America, we're great, we never do or did anything wrong, you know, and that same propaganda goes along with our next topic, and this whole news industry and how like they're passing down these must-run scripts, you know, and now these stations like a Sinclair, who I believe the CEO has donated to the Trump campaign. So now we're having our local stations have a conservative type tone.
It's literally state-run TV.
Yeah. And the thing that I fear, because I know specifically with CBS 21, I worked there years ago, and like we had must runs, but it wasn't as like political as it is now. It wasn't as like far-reaching, and like they ran stuff that, you know, branded stuff as fake news and like using Donald Trump terms, you know, and when you hear your local anchor say it, you know, you think that that's what it is. You know, imagine Ron Martin saying something. You know, you're like, oh, well, that's.
I'm gonna feel like they're in your pocket. I'm keep it real.
And that's one of the things that we really have to worry about, is especially with like information and everything. And that's why I feel like stuff like hip hop and politics is important. Because you get that unbiased opinion and just that unfiltered.
We get to exercise that Fifth Amendment pretty well too.
I mean, and I think what's even more important too is that platforms like this are calling Sinclair out, and we're doing it over and over and over for doing the same thing that they were trying to preach against. Like, oh no, this whole like script that we're sending to thousands of stations that they have to do is not us using our platform to spread our personal agendas. We're trying to warn you against that.
Exactly.
Stare into my eyes.
You know, Don't
And
look
this-
at the man behind the curtain.
Yes, right. And people are falling for it, though.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
Yeah.
Is the sad thing.
Yeah, and like you said, that is certainly the sad thing. What can we do? What can we do?
I think it's our job and obligation to continue to speak out and boycott as much as we can. I mean, it's up to us whether to support this agenda or not.
Well, making people knowledgeable.
Right.
Here's my jam. News, like anything else, you are a consumer of. And if you want to be a good consumer of anything, you have to do your research and you have to do your homework. And you can't assume that the first thing that somebody tries to sell you is the only thing.
Right, exactly.
Like, running media, you know, like, unfortunately, the structure of the business is advertiser based.
Right.
And you need listeners to have advertisers, and listeners want certain things, but there's an integrity that you can maintain.
Right.
And that you have to make a judgment of, and that's how you do that as a consumer of news, by doing your homework and checking the sources of the people that are telling you these things. Rachel Maddow is like a Rhodes Scholar, and she has a degree in like healthcare reform or something crazy. So whenever she says something, I'm like, all right, she might got something, but Booby Pants, Fox and Friends, what? No.
Pushing an agenda.
Pushing
an agenda. Keeping her people ignorant and pushing an agenda. And that's, I keep on referring back to this, that's why stuff like this, like hip-hop and politics, is important. Because, I mean, the only agenda that we have is that we want to keep the people informed. You know what I mean? We're not funded by anybody. We don't have no advertisers or anything like that. Like, we're doing this to
Stay in the know.
Exactly. And
I mean, I just want to flap my lips myself.
and with staying in the know. Again, just to let everybody know that we are live here at Catalina's Hip Hop and Politics. We have a special guest with us today. I'm gonna let him introduce himself, and we can pick his brain a little bit. A fellow entrepreneur here in the city of Lexington.
They told me to keep it positive. Fake smile as I'm out to get an MRI to check for cancer. The test came back positive. They told him to keep it positive. He asked the doctor, does he gotta give upper leg cause of diabetes? The doctor nodded positive. We need something more than positive. We need something more than positive. We need something more than positive. We need the truth. We need something more than positive. We need something more than positive. We need something more than positive.
You are listening to a Fast Bangers production.
HIV test positive. Lumps on her breast positive. Tested for Down syndrome positive. Was she sleeping around with him? Positive. Was he sleeping around with her? Positive. A child touched by the babysitter? Positive. Gym teacher was prejudiced? Positive. A 12-year-old pregnant? Positive. These things are all negative, positive. Life is not all Cliff Huxtable and the Cosby Kids. Life is not all butterflies and rainbows cover skies and angels cover lies and fables. That's why some smoke and some do pills. The truth does hurt, but the truth does heal. Positive. That's why some smoke and some do pills. The truth does hurt, but the truth does heal. Positive. We need something more than positive. We need something more than positive. We need something more than positive. We need the truth. We need something more than positive. We need something more than positive. We need something more than positive. We need the truth. We need it.
What's up? My name is Tyrone Dotson. We live at Catalina's on Thursday night. A lot of people know me out here. This is in Lancaster, right? A lot of people know me out here for doing music. You know, in late '90s, early 2000s. I dropped a few albums, about 4 or 5 mixtapes, and you know, I still do music. It's not my number one thing right now. Right now, I'm trying to get this personal training gym off the ground. So I'm here at the Catalina's Mixer to try to, you know, mix it up with some other minority businesses to see if we can network and build our brand.
All right, so on the music side of things, as a local artist in Lancaster, what is some of the biggest obstacles that you had to overcome? Because I know with you and your group, like, you guys laid the foundation for a lot of current Lancaster rappers that are out right now. So, like, what are some of the obstacles that you faced?
Well, when I first started, I started by myself. You know, I used to look up to the foundation. There's another group that came out right before I did, and my main obstacle was money. You know, so I kind of had to do what I do. I wasn't doing the right things in the street, but I did the right things with the money I made in the street, and that's how I got my albums pushed. And I did my own promotion, posters. Nowadays, it's a lot easier than it was when I was coming up. You know, we didn't have all these social media outlets. We didn't have none of it.
You had the Xerox machine and handing out the flyers.
You know, we had to pay people to go out and put posters up. And hope they went and got the album. You know, nowadays you can just download somebody's music online,
or it's just chilling on SoundCloud.
Yeah,
it's just right there.
It's real easy to catch the audience. So you know, it's actually a lot easier nowadays. Before you had to put a lot of footwork in. You have to do a lot of traveling and you know.
What do you think that does for the art form? Because there are two schools of thought. Some people think, oh, it really cheapens it, you know. If you really want it, you'll go through all that footwork, and other people are like, well, no, you know, it really opens it up to every artist.
I believe it opens it up. You know, some people may say it cheapens it, it weakens it, but really, back then, it was real hard for somebody coming from a small area to get noticed. Nowadays, I can be just as big as anybody from any other city. You know, and I can get worldwide exposure. You know what I mean? From right here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So I love it. I love the fact. I just wish it would have happened in my time.
Being that it's Thursday, Throwback Thursday, what albums were you listening to while you were in high school?
Oh, so what year were we in?
I don't even want to get into that. They gonna say what year it was.
Well, we can deduce from the album.
Right. You never know. There's different levels now. My main dude back in the day was, I had a lot of main dudes. My main dude was Nas. Major fan of Nas. His first album, especially his second album, The Message. Love that album. Redman, Method Man. I start naming some names. Y'all gonna really know how old I am.
But look, let me I guess show how old I am. Friday.
Yeah. Let's play this game. What were you listening to in high school, Keith?
Well,
what year are we in?
In high school, I was listening to Blueprint.
Yeah, okay.
I was were
really?
Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Side of the Mississippi at the
You ain't that old then. You ain't that old.
I was listening to Blueprint in high school. And last week I was at Millersville. I got interviewed on the radio, and they said, you know, what song made you fall in love with hip hop?
Oh.
What was your first like meal and everything? And I was like, oh, that's easy. I was like, Kwame, only you.
Oh,
and
wow.
like eyes were just like,
Who?
Like who? Yeah. It was just like, oh wait, and I was like, look, just stop the show, YouTube it now, because that's like, all the little blonde hair and like that's Kwame.
Right.
That's straight from Kwame.
Mm-hmm. All that started way back. My personal song that got me really, really hooked. I hated rap, yo. I ain't gonna hold you. When I was real young, my sister, because I was in the crib watching DuckTales. My sister would come and turn the TV and turn on some. She would turn on KRS-One or something like that.
Oh, but
Like, yo, turn that
too heavy for him.
What really got me was If I Ruled the World.
Come on though, because that
First time
song
I saw that video, I was
on
gone.
the video. Come on.
In the video together, I had chills going through my body. It was it for me. And then like, I don't know how much longer later, I dropped my first album. All out of pocket. Everything I did was out of pocket.
So you say that Nas inspired you the most?
Absolutely, positively. Yeah.
I mean, as far as writers go in general, he's just up there with one of the great players of words.
Right.
Let's get back into the business side of things while we got these last couple of minutes, because he said he was here for the mixer.
Right.
Tell us about this personal training gym that you want to get up and start.
Okay, well, my logo is Firm Body Pro Training. I've been training people for probably the last 10 years, but I just recently got certified back in September 2017.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I always been in the gym. I just actually got the certification. You know what I mean? Now I'm working on my nutritionist certification.
Nice.
And I'm working out of a gym on 341 East Liberty Street. Working on my own. Right now I'm working out of somebody else's gym. Eventually I want to get my own place, get that started. But I just had a client, one of my clients, she's been working with me for a month and a half, and she lost 15 pounds.
Nice.
Yeah. Shout out to Diana Davis. She goes hard. All you gotta do is show up, and from there, the motivation is all from me.
Right.
Definitely.
Get accountable. Get slim.
Yeah.
You might be getting my card later.
I'm not one of those personal trainers that are charging for nutrition advice and meal plans and all that. I'm just gonna give you the whole knot because I want to see you succeed and lose weight.
Free consultations, and do you do free consultations?
Yeah, I always do consultations because I want to know what kind of person I'm dealing with, what kind of diet they have, how old they are. You know what I mean? I want to know how they have a heart attack.
Right. Well, and where they're at fitness-wise in that moment.
Yeah.
All right, so then with personal training, how do you go out and get your clientele? Because we know that there's competition and everything like that. There's people that are like, oh, I can do it myself. So like, how do you convince like the passive person that works out, to come and join your services?
I mean, your work speaks for itself when it comes to personal training. First of all, you got to look the part, somewhat look the part. And, referrals, equals clientele, you know what I mean? So if somebody's out there saying, look, I lost 15 pounds, working with this guy in a month and a half, that's my promotion right there, along with this Facebook, Instagram, and things like that. And you post things live, people see your workouts, and from there it's just word of mouth.
What got you into all of this? So you were into DuckTales, that was your first jam, and then it was hip hop, and so then what got you into physical fitness?
I mean, I've always been working out since I was young. It was just something that was in me, and And I found that my dad was into the same thing. I never even knew him growing up, so I guess it's in my genes.
Were you kind of a natural athlete growing
No,
up?
yeah, I definitely was a natural athlete. Like I got records from elementary school, track and field. And
Okay,
stuff like
all
that.
right.
But my main passion now is because of the life I led before, I got into physical fitness heavy. I was in the streets, doing the wrong things, selling the wrong things, and now I just want to give back health-wise because I felt like I put so much dirt out there. Why not bring it back and get
That's
people
beautiful.
healthy?
Love.
That's my drive.
Right.
Reciprocity goes a long way.
Right. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Another successful episode of Hip Hop and Politics. Our first time going live here at Catalina's. Before we head on out, is there anything you'd like to leave the crowd with?
I'm gonna get a pizza. Right?
And I'm not even a pizza
eyeing
person,
it
but
up.
that pizza definitely did look good.
And then I'm gonna call Ty to be like, "Yo, I just ate that pizza."
Right.
Yeah.
I paid for it too.
I'd like to say thank you for all the listeners and all of the positive feedback that we've been getting. The phenomenal guests that have come through.
Oh my goodness!
Right.
And I hope that you guys feel as fed as I do after our broadcast.
Right. And I want to give a special shout out to Buddy Calhoun, Social Life Promotions, for inviting us out here, having us come here and everything like that. Buddy, know that you have some things coming up. Anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, like I said, man, for everybody that's following hip hop and politics, make sure you go and follow that Social Life Promotions page on Facebook. If you haven't, follow Social Life Promotions on Facebook, go to the page, like, share, comment. Same thing with Instagram, Social Life Promotions, like, follow, all that good stuff. Social Life, we just want to keep on promoting hip hop and politics. It's hip hop and politics that does the same with Social Life Promotions. I love that Marquise Lovin, Lena, and
Sophie.
Yo, Sophie's like so cheerful and everything.
Oh,
But I appreciate you guys coming out on the business networking and showing love. So anytime you guys want to come back, you're welcome to come back. Let's take it from there, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
All right. So we're gonna leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. So always remember, get involved and get active. Peace.
This nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed.
Closed caskets and hallelujahs. Was it the dream of Martin Luther that they tried to shoot you? They brutalize innocent youth and then label them losers and criticize our every move in our positive movements. They say the revolution won't be televised. Instead we got hella guys telling us lies, but can't tell me why. We the people, mainly mine, are always labeled evil, but it's safer walking the streets and praying at cathedrals. Try to police you by aiming and shooting at your steeple. Try to comply, hands high, they don't believe you. Our culture's refined, not by design of people. I try to draw the line, but the gray side is hard to see through. Teach my people to fish, to eat a lifetime. Shut down the pipelines and bring back the sight lines. We need to realize we can do more than just write rhymes. Become a one brand and become a one mind.
If you have no confidence in self, you are twice defeated in the race of life. With confidence, you have won even before you have started.
In my subconscious, I always been on some conscious shit, but foolish pride had me blinded and on some mindless shit. Our lives matter until we have to pay consequences. You on the fences but fall on the side the silences. Run into honest kids and subject them to stop and frisk. Ain't even wildin', but shoot them down on some violent shit. Death is prevention, I'm guessing that's what the logic is. I missed the lesson, they suggesting it's obvious. never protect you. Everything is to misdirect you, and they're successful. Keep an eye who you standing next to. Not for nothing, they pretend that they stand for something, but fought for anything. Now they can't stand for nothing. Shit is disgusting. I'm embarrassed what we becoming. Thought we were leaving hate behind and looking for loving. It's all or nothing. I decided to side of loving. All for nothing. I decided to side of loving.